We now move to the first panel discussion of the day, titled Aligning Capital with Purpose: The Future of Impact Investing. This session will delve into how investors can align their capital with social impact goals to create lasting and meaningful change. Our moderator for the session is Mr. Ninad Karpe, founder and partner at 100x VC, a leader in fostering early stage startups through venture capital. Joining him are our esteemed panelists, Mr. Saurabh Johri, co-founder and director at the School of Education and System Change, Piramal School of Leadership, and expert in educational reform. Mr. Sanjay Anandram, co-founder of the Network of Indian Cultural Enterprises, an experienced venture investor and mentor. Mr. Munish Bhatia, co-founder of India Accelerator, specializing in scaling startups through acceleration program. Mr. Karpe, over to you.
Thank you. Good morning, all of you. Great to be here. This is such a wonderful topic, future of impact investing. But before that, I had in the earlier panel all my good friends, Tyag, Suchitra, whom I've met after a long time, and Pravina. And Tyag is a great leader. I have deep admiration in the way he runs his companies, truly so. But like all good leaders, he has a small weakness. His discussion never run on time. So I always dread when I have a panel discussion after his meeting, but he still remains a good friend despite these small weaknesses which he has. Future of impact investing. So we are going to today talk about the future, not the past and present. And it's always interesting when you talk about the future. My younger son is 27, tells me, Dad, why do they call you to talk about the future? No one is going to know what you're going to say, and no one is going to check what you have said. But today, the whole idea at the end of this 30 45 minutes is that I extract as much from all these panelists who are here. Three of them are great leaders in their own space. They have deep knowledge, and I have a lot of questions. And I'll request them to keep their responses short and sweet so that we have as many questions as we can, as much knowledge as we can. And please keep your questions ready. I want to ask, allow you also time to ask them questions. So without any further ado, let me get going and ask the first question straight to Saurabh. Saurabh has deep knowledge in the subject. And the first question to Saurabh is impact measurement is a tough one. It's a topic which is discussed a lot about how to do impact measurement. How do you address issues of quantifying intangible outcomes? Community well-being, sustainability. Is that the biggest challenge in social investing, in
Yeah,
impact measurement?
yeah, really. Hello. Yeah. No, thank you, Ninad. Good morning, everyone. Uh, yes, really tough question. And maybe I would like to kind of just uh, pick up a cue from Vichitra's address where uh, and bring the attention of the audience that probably who is the biggest impact investor in the country. And if we just put government as the biggest impact investor, which invests millions and millions of rupees and dollars into social sector, be it education, healthcare, social justice, gender, uh, and many other sectors, just to ensure that the taxpayers' investment uh, actually gets measured and then reported back to the country. Uh, and it's really, really intangible. How do we really quantify that investment into very clear, quantifiable matrices? This is one area where Piramal Foundation, we have been working with multiple ministries, almost 29 ministries in central government and almost 10 different state governments to really help them, uh, uh, come up with matrices, both quantitative and qualitative. And government has its own big system of measuring their own investment. Things like, many things, if you look at MG Narega data and how the measurement is done, there's a lot of qualitative uh, aspects which gets captured in the aspirational Bharat program under the new Niti Aayog, where we work with them in about all the aspirational districts. We have developed with them indicators as to, you know, what is the, say, for example, the quality and the experience which somebody as a patient who gets at the primary center, primary healthcare center. Uh, so, uh, and then there are many tools now emerging. There is an OctaPace framework, which is about openness and authenticity and trust and the experiences. If you just Google OctaPace, you will get that framework to understand how do we really measure culture in the government system, change in the government system. And that holds true even for social enterprises. We in Piramal Foundation, through our Gandhi Fellowship program, every year we run the largest fellowship program. About 700 Gandhi Fellows join us. And then when they graduate after 2 years, many of them set up enterprises. Right now, about 110 Gandhi Fellows, 110 social enterprises we support, mentor for almost 8 to 10 years. And these are some of the indicators, the intangibles we try to engage with them and develop with them so that whatever, I think these 110 agencies have about 250, 300 crores they have raised from various sources, including Piramal Enterprises and financial services. And what we try and do is how do we really engage with them? So we have a lot of assessment tools. We have a lot of, my team told me there's a competency management tool, there's qualitative data analysis. There is an MLJP framework which we use, which is very interesting, which is called a meaning, learning, joy, and pride framework. That is there meaning in the business which I am doing? Is the organization learning enough on an everyday basis? Are the founder, the team members, they continually are they really enjoying so the joy part of it, and they really feel pride that they are serving the nation, they are doing something for the country. So we use something like an MNJP framework. So I'll just kind of pause here and maybe take
Oh,
some
superb. MLJP. I'm going to check that out. Please check out MLJP framework.
very
New one, is it?
IP to
Oh, IP. Okay, whatever open
But-
source you have, you
but
can.
it is open.
Yeah. Okay, I think by the end of the session, I'll convince him to make it open source. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please meet up. But it's very nice. MLJP framework. Thank you. Thank you for all the start. Let me move to Munish, and quickly talk about investing because at the end of the day, investing is important. Is social impact investing sometimes the criticism on investors? I am also a VC investor. Is social impact investing just a checkbox in your role or scheme of things, or is it integrated in your investment process? What are the challenges you face aligning both these?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Manish here. Happy to be part of the panel. So while we invest, the focus is definitely on the financial return. But in terms of how do we evaluate startups, especially the impact startup, is the kind of impact they are doing at the end beneficiary space. So while the founder is pitching, we just don't look at the financials. We also look at his vision in terms of how he wants to create an impact with the solution that he's providing. For us, the key parameters are the KSIs, how we call it, the key social indicators. And while we invest, we put some checks in the SHA in terms of the metrics that they have to report back every quarter. And even for us, while we are having a conversation, the first thing we check is the KSIs and the KPIs or the financial numbers. Financial numbers are important because if they have to sustain for a longer period of time, they need to have a sustainable model. So we do focus on that, but not entirely on that, like how most of the VCs does. But at the same time, we have some responsibility to the LPs from which we have raised money. We have to provide them return, but they understand that this is more of a patient capital, and not like you should not be expecting like a 40 or 80x, but even a 3 to 4x return in a period of 5 to 7 years is a good enough return for them, and they're okay with it. And while we do the due diligence in terms of how much they have actually implemented on ground, we give more leverage for the KSIs and the non the financial KPIs. um, at the end of it, all the projections are just a projection till they are actually being implemented. So whenever the founder comes back after 3 months and they say, this is we have missed or this we have achieved, we are a little bit more lenient on the financial KPIs, but not on the KSIs. That way they also understand that the investors are looking for return, which is a social return in this case, and not just a financial return, and they continue on the path while they are executing it on the ground. Yeah, so that's I wanted to highlight.
Okay, thank you. KSIs is more important than KPIs. Great. That's what I heard. Over to you, Sanjay. And my next question to you is uh, about complexities of measuring ROI in social tech startups. It's a very different process. Uh, Saurabh has given some indication of measurement, but ROI is always thought of. Is there any metrics which calculates both financial and social impact, both financial return and social impact? So after this, if you have any questions, please raise your hand. I'm happy to take questions in the middle of the session as well, just to make it more interesting.
Yeah, thanks, Ninad. And good morning, everybody. Thanks to CII for the invitation. Wonderful to be here. Everyone will tell you that yes, social impact metrics are important and financial metrics are also important. But if you go and talk to the actual social enterprises, they will tell you, you know what, it's actually financial metrics that are really looked at. And end of the day, as Socrates said, the beginning of wisdom starts with definitions. So what exactly is the social enterprise? For example, every company generates jobs, pays taxes, and has some kind of downstream trickle down effect on the economy. Why isn't that a social enterprise? Right? So, some things you have to think about. And therefore, a social enterprise, according to me, is an enterprise that exists primarily for social good, using profit as the means, as opposed to a commercial enterprise whose sole reason for existence is to generate shareholder value through profits and may choose to do social good. For example, CSR, that's mandated. So you happen to do some social good, but that's not the reason for your existence, right? And that's important because that in turn flows down into how you think of metrics. What metrics should I be looking at? And clearly, there are large sectors of the economy and the social sector that aren't exactly quantifiable. You can't model it, but you have a trend line and you can get a directional impact. For example, if I say livelihoods is the reason for creating a enterprise, right? And that is measurable. Numeracy skills, literacy skills are measurable. Environment impact, for example, the quality of water that I drink, quality of air that I breathe, measurable, right? Inclusion, and let's say, women in the workforce is measurable. What happens is that the time dimension varies. And that goes back to your point about having the right kinds of people who are backing you. And it need not just be investors, because what happens again, I'll tell you, and these are the interesting issues because, and there have been a material that we need to think through. If you have a traditional VC type investor in a social enterprise, it's inevitable that there's going to be a misalignment of interests because the VC investor is coming into the business essentially to get natural returns because of the risk element. But if I get a different kind of an investor, quote unquote, a genuine so-called impact investor, then of course the ball game changes. And there again, what Manish talked of, the kinds of returns you're happy with. Second, should you actually be looking at returns? I'll give you an example. Let's say a company is doing well, hires a lot of people. COVID happens. Are you going to lay off people? Yes or no? Right? So what happens is in a commercial enterprise, you would lay off people. You have no choice. But in a social enterprise, if the reason for your existence is social good, are you still going to battle on, or are you still going to lay off people? So where is the social impact in such a case? So there are some hard questions that we need to think through. And a lot of stuff that goes on is stuff that is kind of superficial and at times gets deep. And finding that balance is where I think the magic lies.
Finding the balance is where the magic lies. I don't want this to become an investor, VC investor bashing session, but you have raised some interesting question, and I think it's the job of Munish to respond. He said you have to find a genuine impact investor, not the typical VC investor,
Right.
which means don't look at me, look at you. That is what it says.
Yeah. No, I totally agree with that. And that's why I said, you need to be aligned with the vision of the founder and also the investors. If you're looking for that 40x return, probably you should not be investing in them. And I always tell the founders, especially for the follow-on rounds, because we usually come in at a first check or even, helping them with grants. For follow-on rounds, the investors who are coming in mostly ends up being a VC because you need large checks for them to scale up. But uh, our advice always is to the founder is to be little cautious in terms of the money that you take and from whom you take. Are they okay with those KSIs that we have put in, or going forward they are also going to monitor that, or they are looking for just the financial return? So these are the conversations that the founders need to have. Even because we are invested, we also have those conversations with them. So you get a sense from the investor in terms of what they are looking for at the end of it. It's not that VC is coming from somewhere else. They have a responsibility to their LP. So they are upfront with that, what they want. And if there are no option for you to, pick up some capital and not sustain, then I would still suggest them to pick the capital and we'll see it all along. But usually the idea is to raise follow-on rounds also from impact investors that ensure that you're doing what you're supposed to do. And it's a difficult balance to create it, and that's where
Sure,
we are.
that's on slippery ground for me. So I'm going to move on quickly. If you all have any questions, please raise your hand. I'll come to you. Yeah, I'm going to come down now and have a little bit of a shake up. I haven't had my morning walk, so I'll do that. So in the meantime, I can ask Saurabh to respond to future of collaboration in social tech startup. How important is it, and how do they do that? So I'm going to come down.
Yeah, thank you, Nat. So I will just kind of go back to something which our chairman, Mr. Ajay Piramal, often advises us. So he often says that in traditional investing, and there was, again, money was the only largely the goal. Then came uh, responsible investing, in which we said, okay, no investment in weapons, nothing in tobacco, and that way. Then it was more around ESG kind of funding, where uh, it is better labor welfare policy, water conservation, energy conservation. And then more recently, we are talking about impact investment. So one thing which he kind of always keeps on, kind of the way he explains it, I'll try and explain it. He explains it much better. He says in the first two categories where it is traditional and responsible, it is mostly I win, and it's my win which will matter most. Then when it comes to more of ESG kind of thing, it's more of how we all win, you know. And when it comes to impact investing, it is again more of your win will become my win. So it's very, very much focused on your win. And that's where even in the foundation, if you go to our website, you will see collaboratives. We are organized as collaboratives. So there is an aspirational district collaborative, there is a tribal health collaborative, there is a digital Bharat collaborative, which is around creating digital public goods in the country. In the aspirational, it's the bottommost communities where we try and bring in change. And each of these collaboratives are uh, combinations of smaller NGOs, faith leaders, smaller media houses, maybe at the district level. We create collaboratives and make each other win. Similarly, in tribal health collaboratives, we have created collaboratives around traditional healers. How do we really mainstream them into, uh, the mainstream modern medicine? That how can that collaboration can happen between the traditional and the modern? Similarly, in uh, we do collaboratives on benefits. So, like one project, area where we are now working with Nilikani Philanthropies is how do we really create a universal benefits, so that benefits which are given by the government uh, actually don't go through a process of some approvals and all that. It just happens very quickly. If anybody applies and then it happens. So we are working on scholarships, looking at how scholarships generally take 30 to 40 weeks to reach a girl child, and it happen in 1 week. Can the whole DigiLocker system will be activated? So we really believe that collaborative is the way to go, where you actually make others win, where your will happen.
Great. So we have a lot of people raising hands. So I would request people asking and people responding to make it short and impactful. Yeah,
Sure.
what you?
Yeah, hi sir. My name is Manish Pandey. So I'm representing a mobile app, social service app, which is called Goa, wherein we are aggregating genuine NGOs, donors, volunteers, and corporates for a single platform. So my question is with respect to the social impact scenario right now in the country. So on one side, if you see the data talks about the concerns, I mean India's SDG ranking is 109 out of 166 countries. There are World Happiness Index, Health Index, Poverty Index. I mean India ranks very low over there. On the other side, data also talks about the opportunities that are available right now. Like,
So what's the question? Yeah.
yeah, so like India is fifth largest economy, we have 38 lakh registered NGOs, and we have like India spends more than 26,000 crore. So my question is, why do we see this contrast? I mean, on one side, there are a lot of people who need support. On the other side, the support is available in abundance. So why do you see this contrast, and what is
Interesting.
the future of social impact scenario in this?
Sanjay, can you take that? It's a very interesting question. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks. It's almost like asking, why is there a famine? Okay, because what it means is you have supply, and then there are people who need it. The problem is either you don't have enough supply or there's a distribution problem. So is the problem a stock problem, namely how much of capital is available, and two, the flow problem, how much of capital is therefore flowing at the right cost, right time to the right people, right? So thanks to the DPIs, the digital public infrastructure that we have built, and continuing to build, and now pervading multiple sectors of the economy, getting money to the right person at the right time is happening at a significantly enhanced scale. When you talked about the DPI impact and so on, and that is certainly, so the flow problem is getting resolved. Now you come to the stock problem. How much of capital stock is available for disbursement? Right? Now that again is a function of two things. How rich is the country? And what is the culture of people to give back? The second is actually a subset of the first. If you don't have enough wealth being created, people are not going to be giving the money. Right? So now the government has got the CSR mandate, somewhere around 20,000 odd crores a year is now flowing through CSR, and which was not flowing earlier. Private foundations, philanthropic, organizations, etc., are also stepping up to the plate. And as certainly I can also say from my vantage point, lots and lots of new money, that is, younger people who have made money through startups or through some other mechanism, let's say working in a company for some years, stock options and stuff like that, are also giving back today. That was not the case 20 years back when there was no money. At the same time, we have to be absolutely crystal clear. This is a country with $2,780 per capita income. Okay. We represent 0.0001%. The rest of the country is not like that. Right? The scale of the problem is humongous. So we need to keep perspective in mind. That's the thing. And when you talk about ratings like, happiness index, let me just make what I believe is a non-controversial point. Don't go by ratings. most of them actually aren't worth the paper they're written on. If you get into the methodology and so on, everyone from Sanjay Sanyal downwards have written extensively about it. Salvatore Babons has discredited. Don't go by all these things. Okay. Back to the matter is, we live in India. We see what's going on. We see the need. How do we solve the problem? Right. First principles, fundamental based approach.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
That was,
Thank you.
yeah. Please give him a round of applause. This is another weakness of panelists. They love rounds of applause. So please motivate them. The next question is over here. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Sohela, and I lead the Women's Economic Empowerment Portfolio at United Nations Women in India. My question to you is, based on the conversation that we just had, would it be worthwhile to engage with PEVC firms on working with them, negotiating with them and pushing them to invest in social impact investments? Or it's not a good strategy. We just look for those who are really keen on investing in social.
Good short question. Munish, yeah, you have to go for it. You have to defend the PEVC word. Yeah, I'll come to you.
No, I think we need to be honest with the people who are raising money for. If the money is being raised for tech startups, and you want that kind of multiplier, let it be go into that kind of sectors or the industry. But there are a lot of investors now who understand that they may be okay with that kind of return from social impact startups also, because a lot of use cases that are coming in social impact are new age solutions like EV and climate tech. They're gonna take over probably half of the world in next 20 years. So why not invest in something where there would be a financial return as well as social impact, but you can't commit financial return to them also at a just at the cost of social impact. When it comes to the organization like yours, I think that's where the association can be more, where the tech solutions can be implemented by the multilateral organizations like yours or Previ foundations also. So what we have seen, like I manage the Impact Lab vertical within India Accelerator, where we work with foundations and multilateral organizations to implement the tech solutions on ground. Right now, the NGOs are doing great job probably in their own sphere, but can the startup ecosystem be leveraged to reach a scale and probably to reach out to larger people, probably using the DPI infrastructure or others also. So those things I think multilaterals should focus on bringing in tech solution mostly by startups, and that's where you should engage with VCs and see what kind of solutions they have, how they are growing. Can there be integration between your work and those solutions as well?
Good, very elegant answer. Yeah, quick response.
Let me add a bit to what he said. VC and P is not the end all of the funding continuum, right? It's very important to get that. Ps and VCs exist to fund a particular asset class, that which is super high risk and consequently has super high return, right? But in almost all activities, you don't need the VC and the PE type investors. Second, you need to have different kind of structures that enable different kinds of funders. Don't call them investors. They could be equity, they could be grants, it could be convertible notes, a whole host of things. All of that, so by creating the appropriate legal structures, will provide for funding, because end of the day, the enterprise wants access to money. It doesn't matter whether it comes from a VC or a P, right? And therefore alignment of interest, blah blah blah. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I've got a lot of raised hands. Pravina, you'll have the last shot with the questions. Since the gentleman was the first one to raise the hand, please go ahead. Short question and please short reply. That would be
Good afternoon. My name is Amit and I'm CEO at Listeners. It is a tech-led mental health startup company. As you may know, 1 out of 7 Indians are suffering from one or the other form of mental health disorder. But the behavioral change to pay for the service has not yet arrived. In that case, my question is, investors have a lot of checklists to find who are the genuine startups. Is there a checklist for startups to find who are the genuine social impact investors?
That's a good one. Saurabh, you've been quiet for a long time, so I'm going to give the tough question to you. Should social impact startups have a checklist to find out good investors? I'm going to go there last and then go back on stage.
So, as far as I know, there is no such checklist, and that checklist should get developed. Maybe I'll just kind of twin it with the question which she raised from UN. I worked in World Bank in ADB for a large part of my career. And we also used to have investment arms in World Bank. We had IFC. In ADB, we also have a small investment arm. Uh, I think there is a case for multilaterals, especially UN, and to really bring these two worlds together and educating and creating such checklists on the social impact investing and educating the purely financial investors. Like, for example, even in Piramal Enterprises, we have a VC investment fund. We call it Piramal Alternatives, where I think, about a 10, 4 billion portfolio. Now, there also, I think we work with the Piramal Alternatives very closely, really, really develop these kind of checklists. But I think multilaterals, organizations like CII need to bring in together more and more. Again, I would say collaboratives to build such kind of checklists. Otherwise, again, as he said, there are two worlds which are existing, and there is very, very little capital flow which is happening from one world to the other world.
Sure. So this is the whole idea of Tyagarajan and others. What they're doing is this, bringing both the worlds together. So I'll have one question here, and then the last one, Pravina, and then I'm going to come back on stage. Please go ahead. Short question, quick response.
Hello everyone, I'm Arjun, founder of Aerosonics. We invented a product which is zero water waste water purifier that works on sound to purify it. My question to the panel is, we have a lot of CSR funding that goes into Section 8 companies. Do you think there's a possibility that it can go to social impact companies and maybe there's a tax debate in the future?
Yeah, I can answer that because I am working in that space. We are trying to do exactly what you are saying, and bringing the tech solution and getting them funded through the CSR foundations. Again, most of the foundation have their own way to implement social change, but these tech solutions can enhance the reach of what they are already doing. So there are a few mechanisms how that can be tapped. Of course, we have done tie-ups with IITs who can access CSR, and they work in the tech solutions as well. So there can be a program designed for the CSR foundation where the funds would be routed to the IIT for the monitoring and implementation purposes, but the technical partner can be a startup. So in that case, you can access, and we have seen that working. But the startup directly can't take it because they are a private organization. So we have to go by the norms. But from the project's point of view, it can work.
So Pravina is here, and then one last question behind after that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Nina. Thank you for coming back on the stage. I was going to throw this googly primarily at you, but I'm going to get Sanjay in as well because I see two spectrums of probably the way you look at it is, and to connect the dots on the checklist part of it. What is on top of a checklist that I would refer to if I was going to invest for the first time as part of my CSR portfolio in a social tech initiative? And I'd like to hear two varying perspectives where someone like you, Ninad, is looking at a checklist, so to speak, and Sanjay says there need not be a checklist. You make your own assessments, and based on that, you take the next step forward. So I'm keen on listening to both ends of the spectrum.
Sure. I thought you were a friend, and I'm supposed to moderate a session, so I wasn't prepared. This is out of syllabus. But I'll go back to what Suchitra and Tyagarajan both said about scale. And I think in my newsletter on LinkedIn, not that I'm promoting it, it's scale or fail. But I'm a big fan of impact or whatever you do, which should not just have a localized impact, but also have something which impacts a slightly larger audience. Because the problems we face are so humongous. If you're not able to impact more than the local community, or build a model which can scale, I don't think it will, from our perspective, it will go further down the line. That's only, that's a very individual approach. It's not necessarily the right approach. But Sanjay will have deeper knowledge on this topic. One last question behind, please raise your hand and someone will come. So just give the mic to one of them. Anyone? Yeah.
Thanks. the point I was making was not actually contradicting. I was just saying there are elements that can be checked out, right, with regard to finding the outcome metrics. And the outcome metrics need not be financial. And if the outcome metrics are a function of the sector that you operate, whether it's livelihoods or water, but each one of them can be actually quantified, right? Now, coming to the issue of scale or fail, and that's a and very VC perspective, and yeah, but it's in the blood. And I started a VC 25 years back, so I have the same bad DNA. So the point is that the idea is, why should every enterprise be massive? Because then theoretically, there are only so many large enterprises you can create, right? Whereas solutions can be actually local and have enormous impact. And then you can have a federation of small enterprises. After all, the backbone of every economy in the world is the MSME. There's no running away from it, right? You get to Germany, the Mittelstand, or US, Japan, India, etc. It just so happens that the large companies are the ones that get the visible. So you can have enormous impact by having a large number of distributed entities, each solving a specific problem and delivering impact.
Great. I think it was an interesting last point he made. You can have a distributed platform, so still have scale. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Prateek. I'm the founder of Gadget Gurus. We are bringing about change by upskilling blue collar workforce, and bringing them into the organized sector from the unorganized sector. Uh, we've been doing this for about 3 years. What I want to know is that what seems like a right point in time for a VC to come in to a social impact startup? Is it a revenue standpoint, what we're looking at, or we are looking at?
Sure. So he is the VC representative on the spot. And since that gentleman has been raising his hand, I'll give a last chance to him. Yeah. But wait. Yeah, go ahead. We can combine the question. Go ahead.
All right. Uh, Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, weather. I'm Ankit, working with a organization called iDream Career. We are backed by Mentera Ventures, and we also are backed by Grey Meta Capital. So we are typically a social enterprise working in the space of education. So one thing that we have been trying to implement right now is DIBs, right? So how can we,
What are you trying to implement?
DIBs,
Yeah.
development impact bonds, which we see has been a lot of potential to scale. I think it's going in the European market, but we are not able to see a huge uptake in the Indian market, especially in terms of education context. While we do have risk capital available, we are somehow trying to understand how we can get an outcome funder. So from an impact investment point of view, right, how do you see that opportunity coming up, especially from a from that perspective? Also, being an MSME, we find it really difficult, especially when it comes to the 18% GST whenever we go and apply there. I don't know what CI is doing, but we'll really request to take this forum to, if something can happen about that as well, because that has been a critical issue when it comes to social impact investment coming there, and the billing goes to the end customer.
So when should they approach you?
Yeah.
This question one.
Sure.
And would you take that DIC? Yeah.
So I think the right time for you to approach VC investor is when you need capital to scale up. Very simply, if you have reached a certain stage where you see there is the next stage of growth is not happening without the additional capital, then you should reach out. They have their own parameters, their early stage, seed stage, Series A, and beyond. If you have not crossed those stages, you will not get their capital for sure. So I would suggest, coming back to the question someone was asking in terms of the checklist, right? You need to, prepare yourself in terms of the research, in terms of why do you need capital for, and at which stage, and how much you need. And there are information available online in terms of which investors do how much, what stage, what are their sectors as well. Do a little bit of research and then only approach them, and your success rate will be more than anything. I would suggest a social enterprise should definitely raise an angel round, because there are a lot more angels who would be interested to give you a risk capital just because of the social impact, rather than a fund initially, because fund has their own criterias to satisfy their LPs, right? But the angels can be a little more flexible. And I also do small investments myself. If my fund is not doing, probably, that 10-15 lakhs can take you to some stage, and then you should approach. So it's a mix of both, but I would say do your research is one thing.
Sure, do your research, but remember he's going to slip out fast because a lot of people are going to chase him. Grab his card. That's my suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah. No, very nice question. I think very few people know about, including myself, about development impact bonds. It's a very new concept even in India. Globally, there is some movement on DIBs. Uh, if we broadly look at a DIB, there is a funder who says if you deliver impact, I will give you money. That's how it works. And the the market, and especially in India, first of all, the concept of DIB is very less understood. But I think the primary mover of the DIB market is the working capital market. And there is that, okay, if I use some working capital to demonstrate something and then access that money. Uh, so I think again, as Suchitra ji said, that what she faced in 90s in terms of the people did not even understand biotechnology, and then there were few risk takers like IDBI and others who just kind of believed in you. I think this is also a sector where some of the financial institutions, PE institutions, have to really believe in the concept of creating a working capital in the social enterprises like you are in education, etc., so that these uh, funds or DIB funds can be. Right. So I think this market needs to again be educated on how important working capital is in social enterprise.
Okay, I'll give a last comment to Sanjay and then I have a set of rapid fire questions. They have not seen it and they're not prepared for it, but I'll end with that. But last question.
Yeah, all I'll say is keep in mind that you're running a business, and why you're running the business is very fundamental, right? If you want to be in the business to make money, then focus on that. Making money is critical. If I want to be in the business for doing social impact, then focus on that. Second is the patient. There will be lots and lots of people who will turn you down. You have to kiss lots and lots of frogs till finally you end up with the prince. Okay? And that is the only two things I would like to at this point.
Sure, thank you. Thank you. I think give the panelists a big round of applause. We covered a lot of ground in the 42 minutes. I've got 3 minutes more. Tyagarajan, please don't look at me like that. I've got a set of rapid fire questions, which unfortunately the panelists have not seen. The rules are clear. You have to respond to each one of them within 3 seconds. You can't say neither, no comments, both. You have to select one of two. So I'll start with Saurabh. He seems the gentle kind. So let me begin with him. Supporting a project with clear, measurable outcomes or with intangible benefits?
Intangible benefit.
Intangible benefits. Prioritizing local impact or global reach?
Local impact.
Short-term impact or long-term change?
Long-term change.
Environmental sustainability or social equity?
Social equity.
Give him a big round of applause. Fantastic. That was fast. Now we know the rules of the game, Sanjay. Be fast and quick. Supporting one large project or multiple small initiatives?
Multiple small.
You already made that comment in your. So see, it is telepathy, not plan. Tech-driven innovation or community-driven solutions?
Community-driven solutions.
Community-driven solution. High financial returns with minimal social impact or moderate returns with high social impact?
Yeah, moderate returns, high impact.
High impact is important. Investing in a proven model or taking a chance in an untested innovation?
Untested.
Untested is big. Before I complete, the question is answering. Investing in technology that disrupts or technology that sustains?
Disrupts.
Disrupts. Give him a big round of applause. So Munish is totally ready for this. He has seen the other two. Funding a startup that aligns with your values and the fund's values, or the one with highest growth potential?
One with the fund.
One with your values.
Yeah.
Backing a founder with personal connection to the cause, or one with the strongest business acumen?
One with the cause.
One with the cause. Backing a visionary founder or a data-driven strategist?
Visionary founder.
Visionary founder. And last two. investing in an established market or exploring an emerging one.
Emerging market.
And the last one, scaling fast with risk or growing slow with certainty.
I would say scaling fast.
Scaling fast with risk. Ladies and gentlemen, please give them a big round of applause. We covered a lot of ground. The topic was huge. We could have discussed it for a day-long seminar, but it was such an interesting topic. I had such a fabulous panel. They've covered all the questions, and there was such a sport with the rapid fire as well. And most importantly, Mr. Tyagarajan, Chairman, is smiling. We'll have finished the session in 45 minutes flat. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Remember, if you have any question after this also and you've forgotten, they're all on LinkedIn. I'm the moderator. I'm not supposed to answer, but they will certainly, you can reach out to them on LinkedIn. I hope so. And they will respond to your questions. Thank you. Thank you.